Okay, in this video with our lead Breech Lock Pro progressive reloader, today we're going to install an accessory, a small case feeder. Okay, and what this does is this will feed the empty cases in the one end of the machine. It comes in a tube, and what's in there is this device here. You have a mounting, there's 4 tubes in here, and they come in 2 sizes, large and small, for your different cases. This bottom rotates, so you fill all 4 tubes up and one runs out, you just rotate it over. And there's a little flange there. Now this one's small, you can get a small and large depending what case you're loading. We're loading 9mm, 38 Supers, 380s. You can use a small, and I think even the 40mm goes into small. So you get this thing here, just as it is, in the tube, a set of instructions, but the instructions are mainly for the other progressive reloaders. You get a riser block, which depending on the caliber, you'd have to use this. For the 9mm, we don't need it. So this is an extra piece. We just set it aside in the box with all the extra components and use it later. And also, there's this bracket or arm was in there also. I don't believe we're going to use this on this machine. This may be something for another machine, but it's in there. We're going to keep it. And the instructions for mounting this on this particular model are here in this sheet that came with the press. So that's why you kind of hang on to the paperwork. On page 5, it gives you detailed instructions on how to do this. Now, as in my first video where I was showing you, you don't have to buy any of these accessories. I'm going to do a video on each accessory as I add it on and see how it works. Also, I don't mean to confuse people. As you see, I only got one die set in here. What I'm going to do is mount this case feeder and just try to test how it works, just feeding the cases. And I have a die set to expand the mouth, or the necks of the brass. Because the old way I was doing it, I would size the brass, wash it, bring it back, prime it on my bench with a bench primer, and then I would go and put it in a press, expand all the necks, and then I go charge them, put them on reloading blocks, and run them through the single stage. So I have different projects I'm reloading in different states, and what I'm going to do here is I'm trying to test each add-on, just test it. Because to put them all on, and also I don't have an automatic powder measure or a couple other accessories, they'll be arriving today. And instead of just setting this thing up to do 1 caliber progressive reload, I'm going to go with each component and then test the component. Now yesterday we mounted the plate on here, and we had that little plastic piece that when this plate rotates around, all it does is kind of push, they call it the bullet ejector. It just pushes out and drops the case down here. The only thing that happened yesterday is somehow this thing jumped up and got tangled up. But other than that, it worked fine. Of course, I didn't do an awful lot with it. So today, once we mount this thing, we're going to go and finish this giant box, about 300 cases. I'm just going to expand the mouth and see how this works. That's the plan. Now, to install this, you're going to need a few things. You're going to need 2, I have here 7/16 wrenches, and that's to tighten these nuts. And you are going to need 1 US penny, and that's because when you set the height against the cartridge, you use this as a little spacer. Now I'll go over there as we go. And what we're going to do is, if you look here, I'll zoom in, give you an idea. We're going to be doing all our work, and that's why I'm going to change the camera angle. Move this over. I'm going to zoom in here, and what we're going to do is, here was the hole up top that you were dropping the cases, and you've seen that. This thing mounts into this part of the holder, or the arm here. In other words, we put this down in there and tighten it down. Okay, so I'm going to zoom the camera in and just be focusing on this here while we do it. Now I'm going to go set it up and we'll get started. Okay, to install this, first thing we're going to do, I'm going to take that lower nut off. And that way we can get it into the, get it down in the hole. So take your press, run the arm up, all the way. All right, get an empty case. I forgot to mention that. You got to put a case in there. So we got a case, and you see where the case stands above. Now with the nut on the bottom off, we put this in like this. And you see where it's touching? We have to adjust it, because where your penny comes in is you want to adjust the height of this to where a penny will fit between the mouth in here of the tube, or where the thing comes out. So put a penny on there. And we'll, whoop, ran it down too much. So like that. And then what I'll do is by hand run this down. All right. There. Penny thickness. Now we go, and I'm going to thread the other nut up onto the shaft. Okay, I got it on there to save some time. You run this up, and probably when you tighten this up, it'll start to draw up a little on there, which it does. So we got our penny thickness in there. Okay. And it slides right out. Now also they said that this thing from the body, should be, it's the casting, the thickness of a penny should go through there. So we'll get our wrenches and start to tighten down. Kind of get it snug. Move it over. And use the penny as a little gauge. There, that's about right where we want it. Sorry about that. Let me grab my wrench. Okay. So now we will tighten this down a tad. Get it nice and tight. Alright. Now this particular accessory, if I did not mention it in there, it's penny thickness away. So it should be in the proper position. There goes our penny. Should be in the proper position. Penny thick away and from the top of the case. Alright. So that's basically all it takes to be installed. And now we'll fill it and see how it works. Alright, if I didn't mention it, this accessory costs $30. Here's the top of the tube. As you see, it kind of goes up higher, it extends upwards. Now there's a case correlator that goes with this, another accessory that's $16. I already got 30 bucks in there. I didn't know about it. So I'm going to take this brass I have to expand and drop them down. I have a few 100 of these and just basically drop it down. I have no idea how many cases this will hold. That one went the wrong way. You gotta be careful about that. So I'm gonna fill this up, and I guess that accessory probably will be a good idea. So I'm gonna fill this up and then we'll get back. Okay, this is what we got mounted. I filled up the 4 tubes. I don't know how many cases, but there's a lot of them in there. So if this thing works, it is going to be a time saver. And like I said, all I'm doing is trying to test this out, see how it works. I'm going to run it through this and just flare the necks. And another thing, you must use Lee dies with this setup. You have to have, if you're going to use a bullet feeder, you have to have the seating die with, and I'll go over that when we set it up. You have to use the Lee seating die because they're cut a certain way for that. And also you need that powder through little expansion die, which I don't have when I sold my Lee 9mm set. So I don't have the proper dies to use with this machine the right way. And as you can see, it kind of adds a little height to the machine too. So that's something else you got to consider. It's a pretty large accessory. Alright, well, I'm going to set the camera down, zoom it in, and just crank it and see how she works. Okay, here we go. Now, as compared to putting this in a single stage press, there we go. Compared to putting this in a single stage press and doing one at a time, this is a time saver. And then I'm going to take these and just charge them with a normal powder measure and load them, put them in a loading block and load them in a single stage press. But as you see, this is working pretty good. That's the last one. So I guess you rotate this down here and start the next row. So it's something you'd have to be on the lookout for. But there you have it. Okay, at least this accessory is pretty neat. And if you get all of them together and run this, then it'll be totally automatic with a bullet feeder and a powder measure and that. Then every time you crank the handle, you know, it probably ain't going to go as fast or as smooth with just running one die. But I could say it's a pretty neat accessory and it does help speed things up. I'll just have to get the correlator so I can load the tubes faster. But there you go. That's your case feeder accessory hooked up and seems to work okay. I kind of like it. It will save me some time.